Coach Rye from Team Flex. We just concluded the 2024 Olympia, and it's a very exciting time because that means now we get to dive in to the reviews, talk about the criteria, and break down the placing so you know everything you need to know to be your best competitor on stage. And today, we're going to look at the wellness division. We're going to talk about how we got a new wellness champion, how Fran was defeated, and what it means for you out there trying to figure out what your best wellness look is going to be. And that's what I do on this channel, so make sure you subscribe. We got tons and tons of more Olympia videos, tons and tons of more wellness content coming after this, so definitely want to be there for it, okay? Here we are. So looking at our top four here from the Wellness Olympia, we have Isa, our new champion. Isa has been kind of fighting Francielle for a while now, getting really, really close, even within 1 point of defeating her, and she finally has done it. Isa is the new champion, and we will talk about how that came to play a little bit later in this video. But for sake of getting where we're going, let's look over here at second place, Francielle. Everybody knows Fran. She's been the standard. She's been the example. She's won a lot of great events. Again, another improved physique for her this Olympia. However, taking second here, Eduarda coming over. We've been talking about Eduarda on this channel. Really, really crazy season for her. I mean, she went from total amateur to pro to now third at the Olympia in wellness. So, I mean, that is a very, very rapid, very kind of crazy example of what you can do in the sport when you really start getting into your own groove. And, you know, her sitting here, she's a threat to the title eventually. I will say that now. Elisa over here, another great, consistent athlete. She came in here again, another top call at Olympia. And now we have seen that she is a very consistent athlete that can, you know, show a great representation for what wellness can be. And that's what we see with all of these ladies in this lineup. We're going to see a lot of similarities here, okay? So wellness, we know, is the lower body dominant women's division where we want to focus on quads, we want to focus on glutes, we want to focus on hamstrings. All of these athletes in this call out are going to have this, okay? They're going to have a very good quad sweep, a lot of glute dominance, specifically upper glute dominance and hamstring as well. And I say dominance, meaning that their lower bodies look clearly more developed than their upper bodies. And we'll see a little bit of shoulder on all these athletes, a little bit of variance even there. Fran is looking a bit bigger than she normally does. But, you know, either way, it's not overdoing the lower body for anybody in this call out. And that's why this is our top four at Olympia. You can pretty much look to any of these ladies and know they are fitting the standard. But what really breaks the different scoring up? How do we get a champion out of here? How does Isa beat Fran? How does Eduarda take third over fourth in this sense? Elisa, what we're going to talk about is all the scoring and all the criteria and really look at this together. So what I see when I look at each athlete, right, is right out the gate, Isa has a very, very dramatic taper. She has the most dramatic taper in the lineup in this front pose, and that is clearly, you know, an advantage for her to be able to have that. I also noticed that I do not get distracted at all by her upper body. She has that shape, she has that size, just a little bit of the shoulders, just like they want in this division, but she's not overdoing it. And really where your eyes are drawn all the time when you're looking at Isa is going to be lower body. A lot of glute development, a lot of quad, a lot of hamstring. So basically a whole lot of wellness, right? We look over at Fran. Fran this year didn't bring her best look. I saw a lot of differences in Fran this Olympia, even just looking at the stage shots one after another, right? If you go actually do that instead of watching videos and Instagram highlights and whatever, go actually to NPCNewsOnline and look at the shots one by one because they're taken like within seconds of each other. And you can see a very, you know, Fran was not on point all the way. She was really off with her posing. A lot of times when Isa's already in it, Eduarda's already in it, you know, even Elisa's already in it, you know, we're seeing her still setting up or adjusting or whatever. I mean, she just was not on her game. And I think it affected her kind of everywhere. I mean, here she doesn't even look to be 100% set into her pose yet everyone else is. I will say, though, looking at her physique-wise, I did think she started to push her shoulders just a tad much, right? Like, she looks a bit more symmetrical to me. Like, her quads and her hamstrings and her glutes all kind of match the upper body at that point, and also her waist is appearing a bit thicker to me this Olympia. All things that I think make a difference. Now, this Olympia was down to 1 point of difference, right? Like between her and Isa, and a lot of you in the comments are saying that's not the case. I'm going to pull the scorecard up in a bit, and we'll talk about that, but very, very close for Isa and Fran regardless. Now, Eduarda, totally out of nowhere, right? She was a basically total amateur earlier this season and now standing third at Olympia. She's got great overall shape, size, size. She just needs to work on her development. She does not have the lower body development to really stand up against Isa or Fran at this point. She needs to continue to grow some size in the lower body. But I mean, she's got a great V taper, good shoulder development, good shape overall. She is going to be a top contender for this division in the future. I mean, she's already in third. I think eventually we will see Eduarda being, wellness champion. We'll see when that is. I'll make that prediction now. It's fun to do that. Elisa over here, great, consistent athlete at this point, showcasing very, very well, good shape in the shoulders, nice taper here. Again, she's one that needs a little bit more lower body dominance to be able to go up against Fran and Isa. That's just kind of how it works. And Eduarda still edges her out just a bit in that. And Elisa also tends to look a little bit more symmetrical. We'll see some of that as we go through the call out. Now, quarter turn here. This is where things start to get really interesting, right? So Fran and Isa and Eduarda and Elisa all look very, very similar in this pose. Fran, stands out. She does stand out, but I don't know that it is enough in the lineup when we look at it long term to, really make a difference. So looking here, Fran, she's got that great shape. She really does have a nice quarter turn pose, really accentuates her waist, a lot of glute shape here, a lot of hamstring, quad. What I do see though is her quads to me kind of look overpowering. They almost overpower her glute. And obviously she doesn't have underdeveloped glutes or underdone anything. It's just this shot maybe, right? Like her quads maybe a little bit too much. Her glutes maybe atrophy just a bit. And again, very strong pose. She clearly wins this pose in the lineup if you ask me. But again, we'll see as we go through the video, kind of the one moment that I think really did shift her scoring and lost her placing. She definitely owns it when you look at this. Even Isa over here, this is not her best pose at this point. It still looks good. It's still very lower body dominant. She's got a very, very narrow waist. That's really good. And her glutes and her quads and her hamstrings, you could go apples to oranges in this pose, right? Like which one do you prefer? But really, she does have, to me, just a tad bit better symmetry in that lower body, right? Like her quads and her glutes and her hamstrings all match a little bit better. And she does look more lower body dominant in this pose than I would say Fran does. So again, I think Fran still takes the cake in this pose, but this is just one pose. Eduarda, again, very lower body dominant, nice look, everything here, good taper, just does not clearly have that same size and development. We can see that, or even condition, right? We're getting a little bit more conditioning lines in the glutes and the hamstrings and the quads out of Isa and Fran than we are Eduarda. Elisa, this is where we can see she definitely needs more size. She looks very symmetrical. She's got good shape all over, but she looks a little bit more symmetrical, kind of shoulders match the glutes sort of thing. That's not going to be ideal. If she can get more lower body dominance going, it's going to be a huge factor for her. So now let's take a look at our back pose before we go to the final quarter there. So back pose, I mean, when we look at this, it is very, very close. A lot of things get very tight for Fran and Isa specifically. And we're going to look at their final confirmation scoring in a minute. And we're going to look at just the two of them, and I'll be able to highlight a lot. But for sake of this is where I think you can really stand out and see that Eduarda and Elisa just don't have the same size, don't have that same three-dimensional effect to the glutes, don't have the same upper glute development, none of that. Eduarda just needs more overall glute, upper glute, overall glute, get more of that 3D effect, that pop of the glute tie and everything there. She just needs more size. I mean, when she gets that, it's going to be a scary day. I mean, Fran and Isa are already looking like, they're already thinking about Eduarda now coming out of nowhere. I mean, that's definitely going to be the case because she's got a lot of potential. And if she continues to grow that development, it's going to be great for her. Looking at Elisa now, very symmetrical. That's what I was saying this whole time. She has good shape, good size. I mean, great tie-in, great hamstring, everything's there. But it's just very symmetrical to the upper body. Doesn't look as lower body dominant as anybody above her in this lineup. So if she can just continue to work on the size and bring out the quads more, bring out the hamstrings a bit more, add more lower body dominance, it's going to be a huge factor for her. And, again, another potential huge contender for that top slot at Olympia. And we're going to talk more about Fran and Isa when we get there. But I will tell you this, they are very, very, very close on point right there. Here is where things get very interesting. Okay, so looking at this quarter turn shot, this is again a pose that I already talked about in some videos that I think has really lost Fran the Olympia. And I will say that she did not only miss it in important moments, she basically missed it the entire time she was on stage. And it's this final quarter turn where she looks very rectangular, very up and down, did not rotate enough, did not get a good pop from the glute, did not get a good, look for the waist. I mean, look at everybody else's pose in this lineup, and you will clearly see that Fran is off. She did not come in and nail that pose. And when you are the Olympia champion, when you are, the Wellness Olympia, the kind of dominant factor for this division, you cannot afford to make mistakes like this. When you do, that's going to mean that you lose the title. Because, Isa comes in and she nails this pose, right? Really good shoulder shape here. Very nice narrow waist look and very clear lower body dominance. Her glutes, her hamstrings, her quads look huge in this shot. And Fran just really missed the ball here by not nailing that quarter turn at all. It widened her waist out. It made her shoulders kind of look too, blocky in this sense. And her lower body's not showing shape that really is what they want to see in this division at this point. So she really did miss that quarter turn pose in every time that she was on stage. I did not see a good one when I was looking at the pictures. And we'll see right when we get down to final confirmation where judges were going Isa and Fran, who's going to win, and we'll see that. But Eduarda and Elisa are nailing this pose better than Fran, and you just cannot do that when you are the Olympia champion. You will lose. You will score down. You will give somebody that 1 point they need, like Isa, to come and take your title. And a lot of you kind of argued with me that, there was not a 1 point difference. Well, here's the official scorecard, okay? So here's Isa and here is Fran, and we have simply 1 point of difference between the two of them. And that's why when we go look at their shots here in just a second, we're going to see a lot of very good similarities and then some blatant differences, which I think is what lost Francielle the title. So if you are one of those huge Fran fans, which don't get me wrong, I think all these athletes are great, very good representation of the division, the criteria. But, a lot of people get mad saying Fran should have won. Well, Fran slipped up a bit, I think. My honest opinion is that Fran either was not, mentally there for some reason, or she just got too confident, or maybe she was tired. I don't know what it was. But I'm telling you, if you go look at the shots on NPC News shot by shot, you will see that she didn't really sink into any of her poses as well. She was kind of moving around a lot, kind of adjusting a lot. Didn't seem like she was really in the focus. So I don't know if it was overconfidence or she had, she got nervous. She was worried that Isa had been 1 point away and she may get it. I don't know what it was, but it was not the best Francielle we have seen, not even close. So here's their front post shot, just Isa and Fran together. And we can see Isa's already sunk into this post. She's got it nailed. Everything's here, showcasing narrow waist, good glutes, everything, all that you need in wellness. Fran is still setting up her pose, it looks like, right? So again, the more time that Isa spends in pose, the more time Fran spends out of pose, the more time judges are looking at that oh, okay, well, we can see all this, we can see this, we can see that. That's what judges are doing. You want to showcase your best on stage all the time, and you want to hide any weak points, any areas that are not the best, because judges see those. That's what they base their scoring on. So the best thing you can do is nail your poses and really showcase them very well. But here, again, you could go tit for tat at this point. This is very, very close. These are very close scoring. Isa and Fran, very on point. Everything, conditioning, muscle. Fran, I do feel, has just a tad more upper body, but with a 1 point difference, I don't think that's what's affecting her. I think, again, the quarter turns are what really is what did it. We see here, you could say Fran pretty much won this pose looking at this up against Isa, but you could also go the other way and say maybe Isa pretty much won this pose. It's so close between these two. It's going to be preference at this point. Both are showcasing very narrow waist. Both have good upper body shape. It's all there. Everything is there. I will say, though, Isa does tend to look more lower body dominant than her upper body in these shots compared to Fran, where Fran has a little bit more size, I think, this season, and that's giving her more symmetrical of a look. And then when you look at glute shape, you look at quad shape, you look at this, that, again, you could go either way because both of these athletes very, very close at this point. Nothing is, you could say, all right, well, at this point, Fran's very consistent. Isa's right there. We got to continue to give it to Fran because, she's a wellness winner. She's won all the time. She hasn't slipped up. She's in the zone. We got to give it to her. And then we look at the back. And, at this point, again, you could say the same thing because it is so tight from the back, so close. Dare I say probably identical scoring here. There would be no difference in what the judges are seeing here. We got the shoulder shape. We have all of this to match. Good tapered in the waist look, everything there. Upper glute, overall glute, the tie-in. There's nothing that is different between these two athletes aside from their size and that they're different people. When we're looking at a scorecard, though, where there's no huge difference here. There is nothing. They are neck and neck, so tight, so on point. Fran is, at this point, it could go either way. And then we see the final quarter turn. that we just talked about. And this is the shot that loses Fran the Olympia, okay? And I don't know that for sure. I did not go speak to the judges about this, but I will tell you this. I do believe, in my opinion, this is the one single shot that made her lose this title. This is that 1 point of difference, the factor that she is the wellness champ, and you cannot afford to miss a pose when you have somebody like Isa within 1 point of you at multiple competitions, okay? And so here's where it is. Again, we see this quarter turn that Fran missed in previous callouts. She missed it again in the final confirmation scoring. If she had cleaned this up, who knows what would have happened? She probably, honestly, would have still retained the title, and there would have been a 1 point difference between Isa and her. Isa was definitely on her game, though. She brought her absolute best to stage. She looks very lower body dominant. She's got the good upper body shape, great taper, better waist, and overall her glutes, her hamstrings, and her quads look so dominant. This is just screaming wellness division, and this is really what did it. If Fran had not missed this whole quarter turn, who knows how things would have gone? I honestly do think Isa still would have edged her out just a little bit, but they were so close. But you just cannot miss this. You cannot miss this pose in the wellness division as the champion. If you miss the quarter turn, it is game over, and she missed it. You know, we got her hair covering her shoulder. We got, you know, this kind of just unfavorable look for the shoulders, basically a rectangular torso, no taper in the waist, and her lower body, even though she's got great muscle and shape here, it's not where it should be posed. So it's basically a lost pose at that point, and it makes Isa look really, really good next to her, nailing that pose compared to Fran, who missed it. And she not only missed it once, she missed it multiple times. Her posing was a bit off that night. And again, I don't know what caused that, but that is what happens. You cannot afford to miss that at the Olympia level. You cannot afford to miss that at any level. If you are a brand new competitor and you're going to stage and you think that all you need to do is diet and build muscle and you can go compete, you're wrong, right? Like, you want to make sure that you got your posing dialed. And especially if you are out there trying to figure this out and you are not the top Olympians, then you better believe if the top Olympians can miss a pose, like Fran, the queen of wellness, can miss a pose and lose the title, then you better believe that you can lose a pose, you know, competing at your regional event or trying to get a pro card or going to your first rounds of pro shows. You need to be practicing your posing. I think that's the real take home from this Olympia in every way. I mean, as far as wellness goes, criteria wise, these top athletes, they're right on point. They're right on target with everything we'd assume. There's nothing new here. There's nothing different. The only thing I will say that's been further echoed this Olympia is the factor that judges want to see lower body dominance. They do not want you to overdo your upper body, and they also definitely do not want you to become a mass monster. There was a lot of mass monsters in the wellness division at this Olympia, and none of them placed even in the top 15, okay? Like, you know, there was people in the comments on this channel telling me my predictions were wrong. This person's going to win. That person's going to win. These really big, you know, upper body dominant, lower body dominant, heavy muscled, you know, super shredded, lean wellness athletes were going to win, and none of them are even in the top 15. So again, it's a very clear message from judges that you got to bring, you know, this lower body dominant look with, you know, minimal conditioning to the point where it's definitely good lines, good cuts, but it's not deep striations and veininess and, you know, graininess that we would see in some of the other divisions. It is a wellness type of look, right? Like health and wellness in a sense. I mean, this division was made for those that want that lower body dominance without getting too crazy lean. And, you know, you got to be asymmetrical. And so really that's what I think is echoed the most. Mass monsters are out. And we're going to do future videos on this. I'm going to bring some of those up and we're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about their placing versus others, and we'll go in depth on that, so subscribe. But also, this is how Olympia's landed. And again, 1 point difference between these two, which means very exciting rivalry between the two of them will continue for some time. You know, it's going to continue to go back and forth. You know, Fran's back at that drawing board, like trying to figure out her posing, and, you know, she's working on it, and Isa's trying to figure out how she's going to retain this title, you know, in the upcoming Olympia a year from now. But basically, this is going to be a very tight rivalry, and, you know, you can look at that top five from the Olympia here in wellness, and know that that reflects the criteria you should be focused on. You should be focused on, in other words, bringing your best wellness physique, not trying to look like anybody, not trying to play with this or not trying to copy any poses or anything else, but how do you get your best wellness look? And that's what you need to be focused on, what you should be looking at. That's what Isa has continued to do. Her look can be honestly unconventional in some lineups. You look at it and you're like, she's kind of the odd one out, but then the odd one out in some of these lineups goes on to win the Olympia and beat Fran, which, basically was one of the athletes that you could have considered unbeatable in a lot of ways. And now she has been defeated. There will be a tight rivalry between the two of them. And again, it just further echoes, don't mess with your posing. Don't miss your posing. Practice, 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 and make sure that you're going to be ready for what you need to do on stage once you get there, okay? So that's the end of the video for today, you guys. I think I've been talking a lot. I think there's a lot more things I could say and a lot more videos I will do. So make sure you subscribe, and if you liked it, give me a thumbs up. It helps the channel out, or share this with somebody, right? Copy the link, send it to your friend who competes, send it to somebody who's interested in the sport. That's why I do these videos. That's why I do this channel, is to help you all get better. And, also the entertainment factor of enjoying the bodybuilding community and what we can get out of it. All right. So thank you for watching. That's it. Coach Rye is out.